Hey everybody, Ben here. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to take a quick time out for something really important. Now I know we all love to kick back, binge watch our favorite shows, view the movies, and talk about the latest pop culture, but there's something else we've got to do. Vote. With everything happening around us, this is our chance to be a part of the action. Whether you're ready for a change or you just want to keep things rolling, your vote is your superpower. So put down the remote for just a second, check your voter registration, and make sure you're ready to go for Election Day. Call up your friends, remind your family, and let's turn out like it's the biggest event of the year. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about making noise. It's about making a difference. So let's get out there together and make it count this November. Now, settle in and enjoy the podcast. Welcome to Wilhelm. I am your host, Ben Beck, and this episode we are diving deep into the iconic filmography of one of the most legendary voices in cinema, the late, the great James Earl Jones. From commanding military leaders to wise kings and even a certain Sith Lord, James Earl Jones has brought to life some of the most unforgettable characters in movie history. And on this episode, we'll be counting down our top 5 favorite James Earl Jones movies, celebrating the incredible performances that made him a true Hollywood icon. Joining me on this journey is someone who knows his movies just as well as I do, if not more. He is my great friend and co-host of the Comic Book Gurus podcast. Please welcome Craig Liggeons. Craig, welcome to Wilhelm.
Ben, thank you so much for having me here. It's a pleasure to be with you once again. We always have a blast together doing our top 5, and I'm honored to be a part of this list and to be a part of this show. Thank you again.
Yeah, not a problem. Last time you and I did something together, we actually were doing it in front of an audience. We were at Fan Expo Philadelphia last year, which was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun because we had a lot of people to choose from. You know, we had so many stars at that Fan Expo that we were doing our top 5 for. We had, Giancarlo Esposito and Tom Wilson and a lot of big name people. But this guy that we're talking about today, nothing against the stars that we've already talked to and about, but this guy embodied so many classic, timeless moments in movie history. And he strode among us for 93 years, so a full life and just generations upon generations worth of memories.
Yeah, I mean, the unfortunate news, obviously, if you haven't heard by now, which I'm sure the whole world has, is that, James Earl Jones has passed away at the age of 93. Just a couple, I think, 2 or 3 days at the time that we're recording this. Mm-hmm. I actually deviated the original plan of the season premiere episode, which this was planned. I was planning on doing something different, and I'm still recording that episode. But I was like, man, he is such an iconic actor that it didn't make any sense to not honor him and pay tribute to him as the season premiere of Wilhelm this year.
Most definitely. So, I hate that we have to. That your season premiere has to be about the passing of a legend, but a chance to celebrate him more, to give invoke memories or just to reminisce about all the greatness that he is. It's a pleasure to do it, even such a somber occasion.
Yeah, and I think you kind of hit the nail on the head too. Is that this isn't, while it is paying tribute to him by doing this, by talking about our top 5 favorite movies that he has done, as well as some honorable mentions that we'll throw out there as well. Mm-hmm. It really is a celebration of his life by doing that. So it's a great way to do that, is by talking about his films, talking about his filmography, and talking about his legacy.
Yeah, most definitely. And we've got so much to choose from and so many moments. And even if it's a film that he was barely in, or just one of many stars, you can't miss James Earl Jones. You can't not talk about him, in even if it's just a walk-in cameo, or just a drive-by, as or in a movie like Sandlot. And not to give anything away if that's one of your top five, but a movie like that that a lot of people forgot that he was in. When you think of the Sandlot, you think of the kids, and You're Killing Me, Smalls, but no, if the movie doesn't have the heart it does without James Earl Jones.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned so many iconic, so many roles that he is a part of, and a lot of people don't realize how many movies he's actually been a part of, purely because he was tapped to be the narrator of the movie, because his voice, just like him, and his performances is just as iconic. From the voice of, this is CNN, to, so many movies that he was just, they tapped him. Ken Burns's Abraham Lincoln series, he was the narrator on it. So many other movies, he was just the narrator on. The voice of Darth Vader in so many films. His voice is just as iconic as his face and his physical presence in any film that he's been in.
Yeah, exactly. And the most ironic thing about James Earl Jones's voice is that this is someone who was born with a pronounced stutter, and he spent a lot of his youth not speaking at all, because when he had to say his name in class or was introduce himself, he couldn't do it without a severe stutter. So it was poetry, it was dramatic readings that got him to break it. But just like he overachieved everything in his life, he overcame a severe stutter and someone who remained silent for a lot of his youth would ironically become the most gifted voice actor of our time. And another amazing part of who James Earl Jones is.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about actors that just have the gravitas of the voice that they have. I mean, other than James Earl Jones, maybe Morgan Freeman is kind of the only other one I can think of who just has that voice presence that you would say, like, I want this man to narrate my life.
Yes. Or if you're reading something and you read it in James Earl Jones's voice.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
It more depth.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, we talk about all these great roles that he was a part of, and each of us has our own top five favorites that we've chosen. These top five don't necessarily mean we feel like these are the greatest performances. These are just our personal favorites. They could be anything from a starring role, or, as you mentioned, a quick walk-on cameo that just we feel enhanced the movie and was very memorable for us. So we're going to go down from 5 to 1 and reveal our top five for each of these. As per any other episode of Wilhelm, we just want to make it known, I have not revealed my top five to Craig. Craig has not revealed his top five to me. That's part of the fun of revealing these to each other, is kind of to gauge our reactions as we do it. I'm sure we're probably going to share a couple. That's just bound to happen. Maybe not. When we did Fan Expo, there was quite a few on your list that surprised me in the best way. So who knows? I mean, we'll see what happens. They might not be in the same spot, but I'm sure there'll be at least one that one or two we're going to share. And as always, because we are revealing these top fives and we're going to dive into why we chose them a little bit, there is always a chance for spoilers. So if this is a movie you haven't seen before, just be aware we're going to talk about it a little bit. But hopefully this conversation, as it does with me, and I hope it does with others, kind of gives you that boost to want to watch these films. Yeah. So with that being said, let's dive into our top five, starting with number 5. Craig, we're going to throw it over to you first. What do you have for your number 5 in top 5 favorites?
My number 5, Ben, of my top 5 James Earl Jones movies is one where, guess what? He wasn't in physically, but his voice was. This was an indie film he did way back in 1980, and his voice was very prominent in this. And you could say, and some would even argue, and you wouldn't get a whole lot of argument, but in this film, he managed to utter possibly the most famous line in movie history, voicing the most famous villain in movie history. My number 5 favorite James Earl Jones film is The Empire Strikes Back.
Of course. It was funny because when you said a film from 1980, that like a little indie film, I was like, well, wait a minute. Like, he said 1980. I'm thinking Star Wars. Like, it's got to be Empire. But then you said indie film. I'm like, well, no, this is just Craig being Craig.
I don't know if anyone had seen it at the time. So, yeah, that was a thing that he did as a lark. And we found out later that that James Earl Jones, to do the voice of Darth Vader, was paid $7,000 for his role.
Wow, I did not know that. I didn't know that was all his pay for that movie.
That was it. And it was because, Ben, the person that they wanted for the for the voice of Darth Vader had commanded a bigger salary, and they wouldn't pay it. He turned it down. So they thought they would lowball the next guy, which was James Earl Jones. The original voice or original person that Steven Spielberg wanted to be the voice of Darth Vader was Orson Welles.
Oh, that would have been interesting.
Yeah. Another big booming voice, kids. If you don't know Orson Welles, Google that man, and you can see that the voice is one that resonates. But he commanded asked for a huge number that the producers weren't willing to give. So the next guy they offered, they said, well, shoot, and it was James Earl Jones, $7,000. And he did it. Of course, that figure was renegotiated after that. But Empire Strikes Back is my number 5.
That's a good one, and I will tell you, we do share that one, but it is not my number 5. So I will talk a little bit more when I get to that one on my list. But of course, Empire has to be. Mm-hmm. I mean, you talk about Darth Vader, like that's got to be. It is. There's going to be an upcoming episode of Wilhelm of top 5 favorite movie villains and top 5 favorite television villains. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt in my mind, whoever does those episodes with me, or even myself, Vader is on the list for.
Yes.
You ask almost any person, Vader is on the list.
Even people that have no history or knowledge or comprehension or liking of Star Wars knows Darth Vader.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So and that's again James Earl Jones because of James Earl Jones.
Exactly. So my number 5 is a series of movies that he did similar to Empire Strikes Back, and those other indie films as part of that trilogy, and all the other films that preceded it. Is another series of films that he did based on a book series, based on the Jack Ryan series. Ooh. And, we have a number of them that he was a part of. We have Clear and Present Danger, we have The Hunt for Red October, and we have Patriot Games. But I only wanted to choose one of them because one of them is absolutely a standout of my favorites. It is one of the movies that I will watch anytime I'm going through the channels and I see it pop up, or if I'm just going through my own library and I see it, I haven't seen it in a while, and I'm like, yeah, that's the one I want to watch. And I chose this one out of the 3 because, one, I feel like James Earl Jones's performance is the strongest in this one, but it also has the star power of another amazing actor who we're going to talk about at some point on Wilhelm, and that is Sean Connery. Yeah. Because number 5 for me is The Hunt for Red October.
Great film.
We talk about, James Earl Jones's portrayal of Admiral Greer. Sorry. It's just such like a commanding presence in that movie. And it just, to me, it like perfectly complements the tense nature of like the Cold War film that we were getting.
Mhm.
The character kind of just serves as like a moral anchor, with Alec Baldwin and Sean Connery and it's not Liam Neeson. Who's the other one? Or was it Liam? No, it's not Liam. It's from Jurassic Park.
Oh, Sam Neill.
Sam Neill. Sam Neill. Yep.
Mhm.
Also one of the other Russians on the sub.
Yeah.
So, the star power in that is just amazing, and his presence in that is just as captivating. So yeah, so for my number 5 of those 3 films, I had to choose The Hunt for Red October.
Yeah, it's a great choice, and it's a great film, and a tribute to him because he's had to play that same stoic, constant authority figure for 3 different Jack Ryans.
That's right.
For Harrison Ford, for Ben Affleck, for Alec Baldwin. So, but the moral center is James Earl Jones, and again, those movies don't work without him.
Yeah. Well, I don't think he played that character for Ben Affleck, did he? I think I think Clear and Present Danger and Patriot Games were both Harrison Ford, were they not? Yeah.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
And those were the 3 that he was in, unless he was in more. I know for sure it was those 3.
Okay. Yeah.
I could be wrong. He might have been in more of them. He might have been in a Ben Affleck, Jack Ryan movie. I'm not sure.
I just remember him saying, "Watch your back, Jack." And
yep, exactly.
And then okay, good, number 5.
So that brings us now to number 4. What you got?
Number 4 for me was a groundbreaking film, and it started the career of a great many people. But again, I use the word regal when I talked about James Earl Jones, and this was probably James Earl Jones at his most regal because he played a king. King Joffrey Joffre in Coming to America is
good.
my number 4, just because the crown, the lion's head sash that he had, and just the lines. Akeem, we've never had this discussion about it. I always assumed you had sex with your bathers. I know I do. And just that gleam and that grin was just amazing. The dad that you feared and respected, but you also wanted to get out from under, and his interaction with John Amos when he came to America, and just their and because they've been friends for a long time, but just that scene where you have been inconvenienced. I'll have 1 million American dollars. No, very well, 2 million. Just you ain't got enough money in the world, Jack. And you say one more bad thing about my daughter, I'm gonna stick my foot up your royal ass. And he's like, pardon me? Just talking crap to James Earl Jones and living to tell about it. His sense of comedic timing and just his aura. I mean, when he steps out the cab with the rose bushes, with the drums playing and the music swirling up, and he steps out the cab and just he looks 8 feet tall when he walks out, and seeing that on the big screen, and I saw it opening weekend with a packed house full of people. The audience, we'd already seen him through most of the film, but when he came to America, when he stepped out on the rose bushes in Queens and just stood up, just everyone cheered, and that's a movie moment. That's a thing about everything we say on these lists, Ben. It's like movie moments. You know where you were. You remember the time when you heard or you saw James Earl Jones say this line or do this thing. And for me, Coming to America, it'll always have that movie moment of James Earl Jones as the proud king of Zamunda.
Yeah, so Coming to America, I will admit, and shamefully, is not in my top 5. But I say that again shamefully because it was hard to not have it in my top 5. If I could extend my list, it would be number 6 on my list, because it was really difficult to not put it in my top 5, only because of the number of great roles he has.
Yeah.
And when there comes a time that I do an Eddie Murphy episode, like that is such a great movie in itself. His performance aside, but between everybody with Arsenio Hall and, Eddie Murphy and, all the other great cast of characters, even down to Louis Anderson, it's, that I have a feeling when I do the Eddie Murphy episode, that's going to be in a top 5 of somebody's.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is such a great movie. And you know what? I kind of feel like the sequel's a little underrated.
Yeah. It came out, from the shadow of COVID, and it came on Amazon Prime. I think had we not, gone through the public health scare, it would have done fine in the theaters. But yes, that's something that I watched several times when it first was released on streaming services. His part wasn't as big. It was, it was kind of small, but just having him in there really made it, defined it for me, because I can't imagine coming to America without James Earl Jones.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like imagining Star Wars without James Earl Jones,
Yeah. He's in there somewhere.
But no, that's a great choice. And again, regrettably not in my top 5. And I kind of, it was really close. It's funny though, because, for my number 4, when you started talking about playing a king, he has done that multiple times. So when you say playing a king, you still kind of question like, oh, okay, which movie is he talking about? Because it could come down to a number of films. For my number 4, I want to talk about baseball, which could also come down to a number of films. But for my number 4, it's one that kind of just, it brings me back to childhood. It makes me feel good anytime I watch it. It's not the biggest role for him, but again, it's kind of pivotal. Yeah. And that's because my number 4 is The Sandlot.
There you go. Wonderful.
He plays Mr. Myrtle, who was a former baseball star, and he becomes like this pivotal character in these young boys' lives. They think he's just this angry old man who just hates the world, and he brings in like this more nostalgic love for baseball with these kids, and his presence just adds like this whole layer of backstory and emotion, and it just makes the film resonate so much better. Again, it's not a large role for him, but it's so memorable and so iconic and so important to the movie that it didn't have to be a large role to resonate the way that it did.
It did, and just the scene with the kid with the Babe Ruth baseball, because you can take this one, you can have mine, and just that the gesture, because all this time they thought, like you said, that he was this angry, bitter old man, without knowing, the history of him and his connection to baseball, and it just made. It's kind of like with the old man in Home Alone. They were always so afraid of him that he was like, oh, he's got bodies buried in his backyard, and he's someone that just that missed his family. And James Earl Jones in The Sandlot was someone that missed, had a connection with baseball that goes a lot deeper than that. So much so that he would help out, this kid.
Yeah, I love it too, because I don't know if you've seen the episode, but the clip has been kind of making the rotation since his passing, and that's his episode of The Big Bang Theory. That he did, where Sheldon meets him at a restaurant, and they kind of play with it the same way The Sandlot did, in that like when Sheldon's standing there, James comes across as like this angry man who's being bothered by this fan. And it turns out he loves the fact that this guy is a fan of Star Wars, because he's a big fan of Star Wars. So I love that they kind of played with that in that episode too, similar to they incorporated Star Wars, but also the relationship of the Sandlot in this cameo throughout this entire episode. It was wonderful.
It was wonderful.
So that now brings us to our top 3. What do you have for number 3?
Well, Ben, before we went on the air, we were discussing our history of top five. And the last time we did a top five at Fan Expo, I mentioned some movies that you weren't familiar with. And it turned out a lot of the audience that we did our show in front of weren't familiar with. Well, we're going to get probably in that territory because my number 3.
I'm all for it.
Favorite James Earl Jones movie came out in 1986. This is something that I saw in the theaters because the premise was so outlandish, and it's a movie that probably wouldn't be made today.
Ooh, can I guess?
You can guess.
Is it Soul Man?
My number 3 James Earl Jones movie is indeed Soul Man.
Yes.
For those of you who don't know, C. Thomas Howell tries to get into Harvard, and he's rejected. But through the use of tanning pills, he turns himself black. And because he is a sole black student, one of only 2 black applicants to Harvard, he gets accepted into Harvard as a black man. And just so you know, you have to be black. Or the rest of the way, he goes, "Hey, man, it's 86. Black people are in. It's the Cosby decade." Was one of the lines from the film. And his professor was James Earl Jones. And C. Thomas Howell thought, well, he's a brother. He'll understand. And, of course, James Earl Jones was James Earl Jones. No nonsense. He didn't care who you were or what color you were. You come to my class on time. You have you're prepared. And no excuses. And because of the color of his skin, C. Thomas Howell is subject to racism and beaten up and gets into a fight and is thrown in jail. And because of that, he missed an important paper. And James Earl Jones's character flunked him. And C. Thomas Howell, thinking he's black and coming to James Earl Jones, I would think you of all people would understand my plight. And the monologue he gave to C. Thomas Howell still resonates today because it's still important today. He said, "That's exactly why I'm not going to cut you any slack because of the color of your skin. If that means you have to work twice as hard as these little white shits, then that's what you're going to do. And if you get locked up again, you're allowed 1 phone call. Here's my number. I'll bring your books." And that's all I needed for that. Of course, we find out C. Thomas Howell is white, and everyone's like, "Oh, well, that explains why he can't play basketball." And Melora Hardin, who's plays Jan on The Office, and she played the Whitney, who was like enamored with black men and always wanted to. And of course, she goes, "Well, that no wonder why his penis was so small." And so it is a comedy, but the James Earl Jones, his role in it, again, like in Sandlot, not very big, but loomed large because of his presence and because of a monologue he gave to this young man, this young quote unquote black man, that in order for you to succeed, you have to do twice as much as anyone else. And I'm not going to give you any, extra help or extra credit or extra consideration because of the color of your skin, because that's not how life works. And it really still resonates with me. Almost, film's going to be 40 years old in a couple of years. But yeah, so my number 3 is Soul Man.
The moment that you said it's probably a film that couldn't be made today, that was almost like my brain did the quick math of like, okay, 86, what kind of movie couldn't be made? Oh, like, yeah, Soul Man definitely could not be made today. That is a movie I have not seen in a long time, but I do remember it quite fondly. It's probably been a good 15, 20 years since I've seen that movie. But you mentioned, Melora Hardin, and I remember Ray Dong Chong is in that movie. I think I remember Leslie Nielsen.
Leslie Nielsen played her
Whitney's father, wasn't it?
Whitney's
yeah.
Father, yes.
Max Wright, who played the father in Alf, I remember being in it. Like, there's a lot of familiar faces.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Oh, I don't remember Julia Louis-Dreyfus being in the movie.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch that again. That's been
it's been a while, and good luck finding it, Ben, because it's not playing on any regularity. Usually, movies from the 80s you can find on cable TV somewhere, but not that one.
I have my ways. I'll try and find it. We'll see.
I mean,
it's out there somewhere.
It's like, but it's how you can see like Tron, like any time of any day, or Tropic Thunder. But Soul Man, yeah, it exists.
I'll pay like $3 or $4 to rent it from Amazon if it's on Amazon. It's fine. No, that's a good pick. That's a real deep cut too, because again, like I have not seen or even talked about that movie in a long time. So I just wrote that down. I'm gonna have to go back and and find that one and give it a watch again. And I don't know if it'll hold up, but
I might be a little cringeworthy, but okay.
Yeah, I'll still give it a shout out. So then that brings me to my number 3, and this is going to be our first repeat of any of them. It was your number 5, and that is Empire Strikes Back. I mentioned that it was in my top 5 as well, and yeah, I mean it's. We talk about iconic villains and we talk about iconic characters, and we can't underappreciate, of course, the actor that physically portrayed Vader as well. But without that just iconic voice behind it, I don't think the character would have had the same gravitas that it did. We talk about, we talk about iconic villains, but as of all of the Star Trek, wrong franchise. Apologies. All of the Star Wars projects that James has lent his voice to, whether it's the original trilogy, the new trilogy, the prequel trilogy, Rogue One, Obi-Wan, like any of these that he lent his voice to me, Empire is, I think, the greatest and most iconic performance of Vader in any of those films. The whole that's not true, that's impossible, like I am your father, that's not true, that's impossible. It is to this day still one of the biggest, like
it's the most memorable lines in movie history.
And it's one of the most iconic moments of like revealing something. It's one of the most iconic reveals in movie history. I still get enjoyment to this day of watching videos on YouTube or even my own friends showing their kids Star Wars for the first time and recording their reactions to that moment.
Yes.
Because I remember my own reaction to that moment. So to see to see that the reaction to that moment will live on probably forever.
Yes.
In its own way makes his performance as Vader live forever.
Most definitely.
And, it's just an unforgettable performance that he gave through voice acting. And, because I've had the opportunity to meet a number of voice actors over the years, whether it be through the podcast or through events and shows. And the one piece of advice they'll always give you is that to be a good voice actor, you have to be an actor first.
Right.
Because you have to be able to portray emotion with simply the use of your voice, with no physical attributes to it. And again, his performance as Vader in Empire Strikes Back, to me, is a masterclass of that.
Most definitely.
And I'm surprised it's not higher on my list, but it's in the top 5, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, that is all that matters. It would be on a lot of people's number ones, and I'm sure the people that are listening to this right now, how is that number 3 or how is that number 5?
Yeah, exactly.
Famous line in movie history, the most famous villain in movie history, actually. That's the tribute to James Earl Jones, that he has so many great moments and so many great films that this one didn't make the number 1, but again, like you said, it's in the top 5. So
well, I mean, and again too, we said it at the top, and it's always been the caveat of this podcast is that we're not talking about what we feel are the greatest performances of James Earl Jones. We're talking about our favorite performances of
Yes.
James Earl Jones. So there could be other attributes that kind of enhance other choices over others. Could be other people that are in the film. It could be the subject of the film. It could be speeches that they gave, as you mentioned, with Soul Man, like the speeches that kind of resonate with us.
Yeah.
It's not just the performance itself. There's other things that make them favorites. So while Empire could be one of James's greatest performances of all time, which arguably I think it is,
Yeah.
it's not my favorite movie that he's in. So, you know.
Yeah.
That said, let's dive into our top two. Number 2 on your list. There's two. Neither of my top two have been mentioned yet. So I'm almost wondering if we have to share at least one of these.
You think so?
If not both. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see. But what have you got for your number 2?
My number 2, Dan, and please, Dan, you're the other guy. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
My number 2, Dan, please keep in mind that I'm significantly older than you. And so when I saw this movie, I was a Ute, but it was replayed so often. And what made this movie stand out for me was James Earl Jones' performance, and that a lot of people don't see or didn't see when, the world became aware of James Earl Jones, the actor, not just a voice actor. But this movie sticks out to me because this movie showcased James Earl Jones, the love interest. James Earl Jones, the sexy man. When this film came out in 1974, it was an Oscar-nominated movie, and Diane Carroll played the lead role, and she was nominated for Best Actress. But what gave her that gravitas was her leading man, and that was James Earl Jones as the dutiful boyfriend who was just trying to make this woman happy. This woman had 6 kids. They were on welfare. They were threatened by a social worker like seemingly every week. And he was just a man that fell in love with this woman despite all of her trying to drive him off. You don't want nothing to do with me. He was always there. And that James Earl Jones for the 70s, that role made him a significant leading man, or a romantic lead, that you don't associate that with James Earl Jones. But this movie did. My number 2, Dan, and my top 5 James Earl Jones favorite is Claudine.
Okay.
1974.
I admittedly have never seen Claudine, but from everything you just told me, I'm writing it down because, and again, anybody who's listened to the podcast knows I write down movies constantly for me to go back and watch, because I love seeing movies for the first time. And you talking about this kind of being a different side of him, and you're right, we don't often see him, if ever, as a leading man romantically. So that alone makes me kind of want to go back and watch this movie, purely because I want to see that different side of his acting chops. Because from everything we've seen of that he can do so far, or that he can do, I already know without a shadow of a doubt, purely by what you said about the movie and what I already know of his performances in the past, he can pull it off.
Oh yeah. And what made the movie stand out, not so much, the acting and the cinematography was shot on location in Brooklyn. The soundtrack, the entire soundtrack of the movie is Gladys Knight and the Pips.
Ooh.
And that it's not, and does not have Midnight Train to Georgia in it. So people think Gladys Knight, every song in this film was done by Gladys Knight and the Pips. And it shows and every emotion you're feeling, there's a song that matches it. And the music makes the movie as much as the acting does. It's 1974, and we're coming right off the end of the civil rights movement. But these characters that we see, you're automatically invested in them. Diane Carroll plays a maid. She has to go from her home in Brooklyn in the projects, take a subway, and take a bus, and take another bus to this Long Island suburb where she's a maid in this woman's house. And she gets, side-eye looks from them. And James Earl Jones is the garbage man that comes by every once a week to pick up their trash and just to wave to her. And that was it. And, he says, I'm out. And when that deep voice, I don't come out here every week just to pick up trash, And he's pulling away, and then finally, and then she runs out and just yells out her number to him, just to give him a chance. And she goes, "Don't you write it down?" He goes, No, I got it. So you see James Earl Jones on the back of a garbage truck, just waving to her, and that big smile on his face, full head of hair. And this was a guy that audience women instantly fell in love with. It's like, why can't I meet a guy like that? A guy that's just a nice, sweet, generous guy that would go out of his way just to say hi to this woman he sees every week, and just to make her happy. So
yeah,
that's my
you're right. Like, I could see the attraction of like a nice, like you said, a nice, like, generous, friendly, working class man. Like, yeah, I can absolutely see the attraction in that. So I wrote it down. I'm glad that one was your number 2, because again, I love it when there are movies in top 5s that I've never seen, because now they are added to the list of movies I need to check out. So good pick.
Thank you.
I've heard of it. I've never had the opportunity to see it. So.
Like I said, this movie is celebrating its 50th anniversary. Ben, came out 50 years ago. So so if you haven't seen it, it's really okay. I get it.
It's the perfect time to watch it now, to celebrate him and the 50th anniversary of the movie.
Of Claudine, yes.
So then that brings me then to my number 2. Not a movie as celebrating 50 years. And I don't think you are that much. I don't think you're that significantly older than I am. But this is a movie that I also watched as a youth. And it's still to this day holds its place as one of my all-time favorite Disney animated films.
Okay.
And that's The Lion King.
What?
We talked about, roles where he played a king, Coming to America, and its sequel.
Yeah.
The Lion King is another one of those movies. Mufasa is one of the most beloved roles, and he just lends his just that iconic, powerful voice to just a wise and noble king. The presence in the film is just it's kind of like, we talked about roles like where he's a smaller part of it, but he's iconic of it. And this is kind of another similar thing like that. He's not in the whole movie, but he is in a larger part of it compared to some of the other roles. And it's his, I'm trying to find the words. Mufasa is basically the emotional backbone of the Lion King.
Yes.
It's the guiding, it's the guidance, it's Simba's guidance. It's the inspiration. It's the wisdom. It's the kindness. It's the strength, similar to his character in Claudine that you were just mentioning. Yeah. He seems to portray a lot of those characteristics in many of the roles that he plays. And man, Mufasa is just another one of those roles that it shines through. Every one of those characteristics just shines through. So much so that the death of Mufasa, we felt that, whether we were kids, we were adults, we're teenagers, no matter what point in your life you were seeing The Lion King for the first time, you were feeling that moment. And it affected you. And it's the reason why to this day, The Lion King is still one of my all-time favorite Disney animated movies.
Of course, it held the record for the most highest grossing animated film of all time. And what makes The Lion King so special and so timeless, just like with Empire, and just like with the lines he spoke that are still, we are all connected in the great circle of life. Or with everything the sunlight touches belongs to you. I mean, fathers use this these lines for their kids. How many people hold up their kids like in the Lion King?
They still do it to this day.
Yes. It's timeless.
And I say I was a Ute when I saw that movie. I was 15, so I was a teenager when I saw that movie.
It's Ute-like, but again, because it's so timeless, Ben. It didn't matter if you were a teenager, if you were a kid, or if you were in your 20s or your 30s. When seeing The Lion King was an event, so much so back when Disney just started their juggernaut of full-length animated feature films that would gross $200 million. And this is during the Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin era.
It was. I mean, you had what a run Disney had during that time. You had The Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, The Little Mermaid, Hercules. The run of animated movies they had at that time, and they all still hold up to this day. Exactly, and they weren't just seen by kids. Parents took their kids, but grown men went to see these movies because when they would come out, they would open at number one at the box office, and you had to see them. So people would talk about this at work. They didn't even have kids. I didn't have kids, and I wasn't even a kid, but I went to see these movies because they were the biggest movies in the world at the time. Everybody went to see them. I won't lie, man. I'm in my mid 40s, and I without kids, I still look forward anytime Disney puts out new movies. Of course. Still look forward to them. It's ingrained in you because you've been doing it since you can remember. So and during that run, during that Lion King, Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast run, you had to, because that was what made movies. And I think that run of movies, bringing it back to The Lion King and James Earl Jones's performance. I mean, you look at, let's take three of those movies, for example, with The Lion King, Aladdin, and Hercules. You look at the voice casts that those movies had. You had James Earl Jones in The Lion King. You had Robin Williams in Aladdin. You had James Woods and Danny DeVito in Hercules. You had these iconic actors playing these iconic roles, and James Earl Jones being, again, one of the greater ones there. Yeah. And they resonate so much in our lives at that point in time, and even now to this day, that I think those roles are the reasons why we still love Disney movies to this day. Most definitely. I mean, no disrespect to earlier movies like Cinderella or Sleeping Beauty or anything like that. Snow White and all that, and Cinderella. Yeah. I mean, that's where they started. We had to start somewhere, but that period of time where Disney made magic, that was just they just expanded on what they were already doing. I mean, Disney films were already an event, and it created the wonderful world of Disney. But that time period, they just took it to another level, which they really haven't come down from. Yeah, so they started there, and Lion King, like I said, it was the highest grossing animated movie of all time, and for a reason. It deserves it. Good pick. So, thank you. So that brings us now to our number one picks for our top 5 favorite James Earl Jones films. And I'll turn it back over to you, Craig. What is your number one favorite James Earl Jones movie? My number one favorite James Earl Jones movie that came instantly when I heard about his untimely passing. This was the first movie that I thought of, because it was the first movie of his that I saw all the way through. I did a book report on the person. It was James Earl Jones played a real life person in history, and he did it so well. And he had played this role on Broadway. I didn't find this out till later, and he recreated the same role on film. And this movie, believe it or not, is the only movie where he was nominated for Best Actor. His only Oscar nomination came in this film. My favorite James Earl Jones film, my favorite James Earl Jones performance of all time was his role as Jack Johnson in The Great White Hope. That is so. I have never seen The Great White Hope. Similar to Claudine.
Mhm.
I am aware of it.
Yeah.
Wasn't he Jack Jefferson?
Jack Jefferson is his real name.
Oh, okay.
And, I mean, you're right. In the movie, he was Jack Jefferson. He was playing Jack Johnson.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Based on the real life Jack Johnson. But yes, his role in the movie was Jack Jefferson. And he was the only Oscar nomination he's ever had was for Best Actor in 1970 for The Great White Hope, of playing this character, the first black heavyweight champion of the world. And his it was an action film. He did all of his own stunts. He did all of his own boxing, and he didn't gain any weight for it. He didn't do a De Niro. He was James Earl Jones, but he just embodied such a spirit. Jane Alexander played his wife, and what made the film so daring was because it's based on a true story. He married a white woman, which was illegal in some states, but when he crossed state lines to get married, that's what he got locked up for. And so to combat that, and with being the heavyweight champion of the world, he had a great scene, and every scene he was in, and that's one of the why it's my favorite performance, because we commented on our list, a great performance by James Earl Jones in movies that he wasn't in a lot, or he was barely in, but his appearance resonated, like in Sandlot or in Empire. Great White Hope, he was in every scene in this film, in an almost 2-hour movie, because he was a central character, being Jack Jefferson, the first black heavyweight champion, and being the subject of just the most intense racism everywhere he went. And he had a smile on his face everywhere when he would come out and face these white challengers, because, and I'll explain the title, kids, because most of the country was so incensed that a black man was the heavyweight champion of the world. Any white challenger that went up against him, they would be the Great White Hope. They would be the ones who finally dethroned him. That would be and it was built up in real time. It was in real life. It was Jess Willard was given that title because he was a 6'7", 250-pound behemoth who was so strong he killed a 7-point buck, threw it over his shoulder, and walked 10 miles home. That's how big this guy was, and he was supposed to be the one to dethrone Jack Johnson. And this is in 1901. And when he didn't, when he was defeated easily by Jack Johnson, there was race rioting in the streets. Teddy Roosevelt listened to the fight on the radio, and he was so incensed by the outcome that he canceled a press conference he had that day. It was the first fight of the century, and it's been labeled over and over again. But that's who James Earl Jones is playing in this movie, in The Great White Hope. And there was a pivotal scene where a bunch of a group of black men came to see him fight, and you saw them in the distance, and they weren't allowed in. And he said, "You guys couldn't get any seats." And his manager saying, "It's best they don't go in, Jack." He goes, "You guys came all the way out here to see me?" "Yeah, we came out here to pray for you, brother." And he goes, "Well, if you're betting, your prayer should pay off in the fifth." He goes, "No, we're praying, for you, to help us, for us colored folks." He goes, "You out here praying for me?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "After you win, I'm gonna be proud to be black tomorrow." And James Earl Jones said, "Well, if you ain't already proud, then all the boxing in the world and all the praying ain't gonna do it for you." And he said, "You praying here for me? You're not praying for me. All I am is some black ugly fist here. You're not praying, 'Oh Lord, don't let him leave town without getting shot. Oh Lord, don't let these people hang him after the fight's over. I'm nothing to you but a black ugly fist." And he walked away. The way he captured that moment, and the way he saw himself as not a symbol of black justice or anything. I do this for me. I'm a fighter for me. Everything I got on my own. So I don't need you praying for me. I'm not some savior of the black race. I'm Jack Jefferson. And it earned him an Oscar nomination. It really propelled his career till he had been a Broadway actor for so long in doing Othello, doing Driving Miss Daisy on Broadway, and doing the play, The Great White Hope on Broadway. But this started his movie career, to which we're paying tribute to him now, and it gave him his only Oscar nomination. My number one favorite James Earl Jones movie of all time is The Great White Hope.
That whole explanation and talking about the speech and everything, I wrote it down already before you even talked about that. Because again, this is a movie I've been aware of and I've never seen. You want with 100% certainty, you basically just sold me on the fact that I need to watch this, not soon. I need to watch this week.
Oh.
Because I love like emotional, inspirational stories like that. It doesn't matter whether it's racially charged or anything like that. I'm just a big sucker for inspirational things, for people who overcome. I love movies like that. And to know that this is one of those kind of movies, this is an inspirational film. Not only that, but this is a film, as you mentioned, that earned him an Oscar nomination. Like, that means that's a performance that I want to see. So now I'm like, yes, like I've literally circled it like 4 times while you were talking. Like, find this movie and watch this movie soon.
Thank you. I'm glad I can do that. And for anyone else listening to the podcast, if that entices you to go seek out this landmark film, then please do so. It's just a fine film, and it's again one of my favorite acting performance. And if you only know James Earl Jones from his later work, seeing James Earl Jones as a young man, as a young fit man, in his physical prime, see it. I cannot recommend it enough.
Perfect. That's a great choice for number one.
Thank you, sir.
So that leads me now to my number one choice. We talked about movies where he played kings, and we talked about movies that are movies about baseball. So my number one is a movie that I will freely admit I did not watch for a very long time. As a matter of fact, I just saw this movie for the first time this year.
What?
Earlier this year was the first time I ever saw this film. And it's because towards the end of last season of Wilhelm, we did a top 5 favorite baseball movies. And in doing my research for that, I was like, well, there's no way I can list top 5 favorite baseball movies without having watched this one. Because I can't go my life having never seen this movie. And I watched it and I was like, I just remember like being in the first like half hour of the movie and I'm like, I don't see what everybody loves about this movie. It's okay. And then by the end of the movie being like, holy shit, that's one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. And I think a lot of it comes down to James Earl Jones's performance as Terrence Mann in Field of Dreams.
Wonderful.
His role is nothing short of magical in that movie. The journey that his character makes from being like a disillusioned recluse to becoming just a believer in the impossible. It so perfectly complements the theme of the movie. All of the themes of the movie, the themes of redemption, the themes of dreams, healing power of baseball. His character and his performance just encapsulate that so much. We talk about like impactful speeches.
Yeah.
And his monologue about baseball's enduring significance. It is the heart and soul of that movie. I just remember by the end of that film being like, as I said, like, okay, now I understand it. Now I get it. Now I know why everybody loves this movie. And it really truly comes down to his performance. Nothing against Kevin Costner or anybody else in that movie, but that movie truly finds its magic when Terrence Mann comes into the film.
Just the two words that solidified everything, that got audiences galvanized when they saw it on the screen for the first time. Moonlight Graham.
Yeah.
He turns around and you see him in the middle of and he's like, oh my God, you saw it. You saw it. Yes. What did I see, Ray? And yeah, the speech, baseball, they will come, Ray. Oh, they'll come from miles and miles around. When 2 years ago, when they had a special baseball during the baseball season, they played a baseball game in the actual Field of Dreams stadium in Iowa, in the cornfields. The players entered through the corn. They entered the diamond through the corn, and they played the James Earl Jones monologue as they were walking onto the field. And these are two teams I didn't give a crap about, but watching that and hearing it, I cried watching before a baseball game even started because of James Earl Jones' voice. Go ahead.
No, please continue.
No, 2 years ago. Yeah, I think it was 2 years ago. But they decided to have they promoted it all year during baseball that we're going to have a baseball game at the actual Field of Dreams baseball field, the baseball field from Field of Dreams. And they had the stands up there, and the players entered through the cornfield. And just one at a time, they were wearing the old-time uniforms and over the voiceover of James Earl Jones. And I cried like a baby because just like my dad would have loved this. And it's Field of Dreams is the Brian song of a new generation of men crying that it's okay for guys to cry at this film. It was Brian's song in the one generation. In this generation, is Field of Dreams.
It's so funny that you say that too, because I as I get older, I find myself as an easy crier.
Mm-hmm.
I get so emotional over the dumbest stuff. For example, we talked about Disney. Like, I just watched Inside Out 2 for the first time the other day. Oh, and I was totally crying by the end of that movie. Because as somebody who suffers from anxiety, that movie perfectly nailed anxiety. So I'm like, oh my God, I feel this. I am Riley right now. But like, we talk about like you said, like Brian's song and Field of Dreams as movies that make men cry.
Yeah.
The more I think about it, I think like there are so many for men. I think you're right. Sports movies tend to make men cry more than anything else.
Exactly.
We talk about like Remember the Titans and Rudy and like all these other great sports films that just make us cry as men. It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, but a great choice though.
But yeah, like, again, nothing against Kevin Costner. Ray Liotta is fantastic as Shoeless Joe in the movie. Amy Madigan, Timothy Busfield as his, as her brother. When he finally sees it, and like the whole time, like the whole movie, like you have to sell, like you have to get rid of this. And by the end, he's like, "Oh, you're not selling this field. Like you're not selling this." Like even him becoming a believer, it's there's so much magic to that film and nostalgia that when I was, it happens so often doing this podcast is that when it comes to choosing an actor or choosing a franchise where we're doing a top 5, oftentimes my number 1 is an immediate pick.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, like I know what my number 1 is. Now I got to figure out 2 through 5. And when it came to this, Field of Dreams was like, yep, I know what my number 1 is. Now I got to do 2 through 5. And Field of Dreams was it.
And that's an easy one. And for a lot of folks, that's an easy one. It's in my honorable mention, spoiler alert. And one of my favorite moments of Field of Dreams was when Ray Liotta just says, "Hey, you want to come with us?" And Kevin Costner says, "Yeah, I wasn't talking to you." And James Earl Jones's exit, it said, "Yeah, What's out there? He says, why don't you come and find out? And it was so bittersweet because we know we're not going to see him again.
Yeah.
And he says, you take care of this family. But he's invited. He said, well, why can't I come? Because you weren't invited, Ray. That just, it hits. But we just met this. We just met Terrence Mann. We just met, he's now a believer. And now he's gone.
Yeah. You're right. It's bittersweet, but you're right. Like we talk about those emotional moments that kind of make men cry. And, that's one of them, because you're right. We just met Terrence Mann, and it's bittersweet because, like you mentioned, we know we're not going to see him again, but we also know he's going to be happy.
Yes.
And it's like, oh man, like, okay, like we can't say no. Like we have to let him go. We have to accept this,
Yeah. So, and Kevin Costner's bargaining with like I did all this, Bill did everything. And not one time did I ask, what's in it for me? So what are you saying? I'm saying, what's in it for me?
Yeah.
Great stuff.
That's just, Field of Dreams, my number one favorite James Earl Jones film.
Well, welcome to the party, Ben. Thank you for jumping on board the Field of Dreams dream. I'm
kind of ashamed that it took me that long to watch that movie.
Ben, usually when you promote on social media, and I follow you, of course, when you say I'm seeing this movie first time, usually I give you a hard time. It's like, oh, well, it's 1996 already. But with this one, I think I'm not going to give you any crap for this because I just want you to see it. If you don't like it, that's one thing. Or if you think I don't get what everyone sees about this, but the fact that you saw it and you got it, and just like that, it's your number one favorite film of James Earl Jones, speaks volumes of the movie, of you, of the timeless nature of it, that you just saw this movie that's 40 years old and you're seeing it now, and it's already your number one. Amazing. I'm so happy for you. So proud.
And when I did the baseball episode too, like it immediately jumped into my top 5. Like I was like, okay, I've seen a lot of great baseball movies. I've only seen this movie once, and it's in my top 5.
Yeah.
So
yes. Wonderful. Welcome aboard, sir.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Let's knock out some honorable mentions before we start to wrap this episode up. I don't have many, so I'll kind of lead it over to you to kind of throw out a couple of the ones that you have.
Okay. Well, my honorable mentions, one of them, and most of them include baseball. Field of Dreams was my honorable mention. Mm-hmm. If only for his emotional impact in it, and there's so many other things. But for me, it was all about Ray Liotta and having a catch with your dad. My other honorable mention was another baseball film, and it talked about its Bingo Long and the Traveling All-Stars. It was a film based on the Negro Leagues. These guys, the Bingo Long was like the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball, and they would play baseball and get into adventures and stuff. But again, be subject to occasional racism. But this was a baseball movie with James Earl Jones, Billy D. Williams, Richard Pryor, Stan Shaw, and it was just, again, 70s, just so much fun. There's some dark moments in there too. Dwayne Jesse, who, everyone knows him as Otis Day from Otis Day and the Knights, but his performance in this movie just, resonates. Everyone was talking when he interviewed, they want to do Otis Day. You need to talk to Dwayne Jesse, because that guy's done 3 Richard Pryor movies, and this one was Bingo Long. He was just absolutely hysterical. But James Earl Jones plays just a rough, tough, cigar smoking baseball guy. Then Billy D at his most handsomest. So that's my this pre-Lando Billy. This is Lady Sings the Blues Billy D. So he had the mustache and he had the wavy hair, and getting chills myself. Billy D. But yeah, Field of Dreams, Bingo Long, and it's not a movie. It's a television movie, but it's the reason it resonates with me because It's a sequel to the most watched miniseries of all time. It's Roots: The Next Generation, and he plays Alex Haley, the author of Roots. And the Roots: The Next Generation talks about his journey to find his ancestors, to find out where he came from. And I'm picking this as honorable mention, even though it wasn't in the theater, because this was a miniseries chronicling Alex Haley's search for his past, and he had to confront a former slave owner who was up there in age. But what it was, Ben, was James Earl Jones sitting across a table and having a scene with Marlon Brando.
Ooh, wow.
James Earl Jones and Marlon Brando playing this old, bitter racist, and he's asking questions about the members of his family. And you hear Marlon Brando just, hey, you ever hear this song? He just goes into this racist tune and talks about, he uses the word spear chucker and jigaboo. And James Earl Jones is just nodding along, and he goes, no, I didn't hear that song. My mom probably did, and her grandmother probably did. He probably sang it a lot. I'm just trying to find out who they were and why they were here. I'm not here to talk about how you treated them or how you treat people now. I'm just here to find my family. And just to see those two acting heavyweights share a scene together. And again, this was, it was 1980, I believe. This Roots came out in 77 and Roots Next Generation came out, I want to say 79. But James Earl Jones and Marlon Brando on screen. It's not a movie. It came on television. I think it only came on television twice. But that's my honorable mention.
No, I think that totally counts. And you know, the fact that you had James Earl Jones and Marlon Brando in a scene together and Hollywood didn't explode is, you know, you have two powerhouses like that in, you know, on this sharing the screen together.
Yeah. On TV. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're right. Like on television, like how did people's TV survive that? Like it should have done damage to people's televisions at home. No, those are some good choices for honorable mentions. Just to go through mine really quickly. Coming to America, obviously, which we discussed a little bit already, didn't make my top 5, but you know, was high enough, barely didn't make my top 5. I mentioned some of the other Jack Ryan movies, Clear and Present Danger and Patriot Games are two other great ones that he did. Two movies that haven't been mentioned though, that are also in my honorable mentions. One of them, I'm almost guaranteeing you possibly have heard of, but most of the listeners out there have probably never heard of this movie. But the first one is Conan the Barbarian.
Yes, I saw it in the theater.
Thulsa Doom, man, like he was like we've seen James Earl Jones play these iconic roles as heroes and inspirational characters. So it was great to see him play a villainous role. Yeah. Other than obviously Darth Vader. This was after Empire, but I think before Jedi.
It was 85. 84. I'm sorry, 84.
Was Conan 84? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, no, then it had to have been after Jedi, because Jedi was 83.
Let me see. It might have been before Jedi. I remember seeing it. You know what? I saw it in high school. I think it was 82.
Yeah, I just looked. It's 82.
It's 82. Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah. Queen, Empire, and Jedi.
Yes.
Was, you know, but yeah, like Thulsa Doom was just another great role that didn't make my top 5, but it's still iconic enough that it had to be in my honorable mentions.
He turned into a snake, folks. James Earl Jones turned into a snake. Yeah. I saw this in the theater, and I was watching like that because I didn't know what was going to happen. And the special effects were so primitive back then. Now, when you see him, his face just elongate, and he turns into a snake. But yes, great honorable mention. Yes.
And the other one, but the last of my honorable mentions, the one that is probably the most out there, but I just remember seeing this movie when I was younger. I have not seen this movie probably since I was 11, 12 years old. So I can almost guarantee you it most likely does not hold up one bit. Because I remember watching it when I was like 9 or 10. It's a movie with Nick Nolte and Martin Short called Three Fugitives.
Yes. Perfect.
It's the typical 80s comedy. Nick Nolte is a reformed bank robber, and Martin Short it just so happens it's like wrong place at wrong time for Nick Nolte because he's in a bank, and Martin Short is just like so desperate that he comes in and robs the bank, tries to rob the bank, and takes Nick Nolte hostage. But all of like law enforcement, including James Earl Jones and Alan Ruck,
yes, his partner,
they think they're in on it together because he's a former bank robber, and just like,
what do you want, Dugan? And Nick Nolte's like, nothing. I'm the hostage. Cut the shit. What do you want? I don't want anything.
I knew if anybody knew of this movie, it would be you.
Ben, I rented that film. On VHS multiple times because I wanted other people to see this film because I loved it so much.
Yeah. Again, I haven't seen it since I was probably 11, 12 years old, but I'm almost curious to try and find it to see if it holds up.
I think it holds up only because it's a funny, timeless, buddy comedy. And because there wasn't really anything like too inflammatory about it that wouldn't stand the test of time. It was just a guy, like you said, wrong place, wrong time, a botched bank robbery. He wants to take a hostage, so he takes the biggest guy in the bank. And Nick Nolte's first words are, "Pick somebody else."
Yeah.
And the physical comedy of Martin Short is what makes this film. That's why I think it's
100%. I mean, I think I remember the cover of the movie. Like, I think like the VHS cover of the movie was Nick Nolte holding Martin Short
and the little girl. So
and the little girl
people at the same time. Yeah. So that was real.
I'm so glad you knew what movie that was when I made.
That's such a great pick, Ben. Really, I hadn't thought about that movie in so long, but yeah, I absolutely adore it.
Nice.
And he was in it. He was only in it at the beginning. And I think at the end, but that was it.
Yeah, it's not a large role for him, but it's just, I just remembered it so well that I was like, okay, I'm going to make sure this is in my honorable mentions. So, great picks all around, both in our top fives and our honorable mentions. I'm glad that I got to have you on to do this, to pay tribute to James Earl Jones in this and celebrate his work in the way that we did. But I don't want to let you go before giving you the opportunity to tell people what you have going on, because I'm sure I mentioned Comic Book Gurus. So, and every time I turn around and I look at something on social media, you are in one of your amazing suits hosting some kind of event or, helping someone with their charity thing. And like, it's one of the reasons why I'm so glad you and I have remained friends all this time, because I love seeing you do stuff like that. So before I let you go, what have you got going on? This is your time to plug away anything that you want to plug.
I will plug Comic Book Gurus. We are now on the YouTube channel, so you can find us on YouTube. Subscribe there. I will say that our Comic Book Gurus Facebook page just passed 21,000 followers.
That's awesome.
So, thank you for everyone that supports us on our Facebook page. Follow us on Twitter or X if you like. As far as what I'm doing personally, I got shut out of the Fringe this year, but it's okay, because thanks to that, it gave me the impetus to do something even spectacular. You're going to have to wait a while, but coming February 28th, 2025, the last day of Black History Month, I am doing Friday Night Live, the Craig Liggeons variety show at the Rotunda Theater from 7 to 10. Live show. I have comics. I have a singer. I have dancers. I have sketches. I have a videotape sketch. Hopefully that I'll shoot at the end of this month. But this will be Saturday Night Live on Friday night Hopefully it'll be a monthly thing, but starting February 28th, 2025, Friday Night Live, the Craig Liggeons Variety Hour.
You have no idea how happy I am to hear this, because I want to say to anybody out there, so My Life in 19 Inches was your one-man show that you did a number of times.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with the exception of maybe once, I was in the audience for all of them. Because I just loved seeing you do this performance. And then you did do another variety show at one point too, that you asked me, and this still bugs me to this day, because you asked me to be a part of it as an audience member, and I flubbed it. I screwed it up. And you, being the consummate performer that you are, you went with it and you improv it and you made it work. But I just remember being like, sitting back down after that moment being like, shit, that's not what I was supposed to say. I screwed it up.
Ben had one line, ladies and gentlemen.
I had one line and I screwed it up. And to your credit, the reason why I screwed it up was because I knew it was coming, but I was so engrossed in everything that was happening. You had magicians and you had musicians, like you had all this great stuff. I was so engrossed in it that when the moment finally came in my brain, I was like, oh shit, it's here. Like, I got to do this. And I just couldn't think of it. I couldn't think of it properly.
Okay. Well, Ben, you're off the hook for this one. I want you to play audience member without lines. Okay.
Okay. Perfect.
That will be your role in this February 28th, 2025, folks. That'll be coming. It'll be here before you know it, but I'll remind you again beforehand.
Okay. Because you know me, I'll be there. And I wrote it down. It's going on my calendar as soon as we're done recording. So I know nothing else gets scheduled for that day so that I can make sure I'm free for that.
Thank you, sir.
But no, I'm excited to see you getting back to that and doing something else. And
I miss it.
Yeah. You're great at it. And like everybody I've ever seen and talked to who has been in the audience for any of them always raves about it. So I'm really excited for you to get back to it.
Thank you, sir.
Where can people find Comic Book Gurus if they want to find it? What's the website? And
well, you can go to we're on X or Twitter at Comic Book Gurus, and on Facebook at Comic Book Gurus Podcast, and you can find us on YouTube at our own YouTube page, Comic Book Gurus Podcast 75. And so follow us, give us a like, subscribe if you're inclined to do so, and you can always follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, at Craig Liggeons. There's only one me, so CraigLiggeons. I'm easy to find.
I say this with all the love in the world. I don't know if the world could handle another one of you. So I'm glad there's only one, because there should only be one.
Yes, and identity theft is a crime, so there should only be one of me.
This is very, very true. I couldn't think of a better person for me to kick off the new season with, for me to talk about James Earl Jones with and celebrate his works. Craig, thank you so much for coming on and doing this with me.
Thank you, Ben. Anytime you ask, I will always be there. You're a one-of-a-kind friend, and the only person I can have this much fun with talking about movies, and especially Three Fugitives. You make life easy for me and for people like me. Having a friend like you is a reason to wake up in the morning and to know that you're loved and appreciated, and someone does the same for you. So thank you, sir. Anytime, anywhere, I'm there for you.
I greatly appreciate that. To everybody else out there, stick around. We're going to go into the post-credit with some listener feedback and, of course, plugs and everything else. So stay tuned. That brings us to the end of another episode of Wilhelm. I want to give a big thank you to my guest, Craig Liggeons, for joining me on this episode to discuss top 5 favorite James Earl Jones movies. You know, this wasn't initially the episode I had planned for the season premiere of Wilhelm. I had already had another episode in mind and scheduled to record. And that episode has been recorded and is still coming soon. And that's top 5 favorite Tom Hanks movies. You're going to catch that one in a couple weeks. But, right before we started recording and right before the announcement of the new season and the planning of the new season, we got the sad news that James Earl Jones had died. So I wanted to put the word out, and I figured what better way to kind of pay tribute and celebrate the works of James Earl Jones as we did in this episode than to make it the season premiere. So thankfully Craig stepped up, volunteered, came on. Can't really think of anybody better to have done this episode because he really gave some great suggestions in his top 5 for movies that I myself need to check out. So hopefully you guys out there listening, you hear these suggestions and you'll want to check some of them out too if they're ones you've never seen. So thank you once again to Craig Liggeons for coming on and being a great guest as he always is and always will be the next couple times that we have him on, because this isn't the last time Craig has been on. Make sure you check out Craig's podcast, Comic Book Gurus, with him and Rockstar Rob and Steve Morrison and Steph, their other co-hosts. They are great podcasters about comic books, comic book movies, comic book pop culture. It's a great podcast to listen to. Comic Book Gurus, just find it wherever you find podcasts and you'll be able to listen to some great content. And as he mentioned, they're on YouTube now, which is great. You can watch video versions of the podcast. But that takes us into some listener feedback, which I always do in this this portion of the podcast. And you guys didn't disappoint. You guys left me some great feedback on social media. So let's dive into some of that now. I put the word out. I said, we were doing top 5 favorite James Earl Jones movies. What were some of your favorites and why? So here we go. Starting first with Jennifer Kennedy. She says, not a movie, but his episode on the Big Bang Theory is just the best. Him and Sheldon in the steam room with a smiley face emoji. I mentioned that during our discussion of this. That whole episode with him on the Big Bang Theory is just one of the best episodes of the series. Him in the steam room, Sheldon first running into him, knocking on Carrie Fisher's door and doing Ding Dong Ditch to Carrie Fisher is one of the best elements of that episode, mainly because if you don't know this already, if you're a Big Bang Theory fan, you've seen this episode and you don't know this already, believe it or not, that was actually the first time that James Earl Jones and Carrie Fisher had ever met, because James Earl Jones, being a part of Star Wars, was just the voice. He was in a studio. He was never on set. So all of the movies that they had done together, they had never met until they did The Big Bang Theory, which I think is just a fun little story. So if you didn't know that, now you do. Megan Dively Lehman says Mufasa should not be overlooked. He gave a gravity to the film, the perfect voice casting for the role. Wasn't overlooked by me, was in my top 5. So, yep, Mufasa, the true king. Kelly Williams Palumbi says, I loved him in Field of Dreams, which is also my favorite movie. He's a big reason it's my favorite movie. Something about the way he delivers the line, "You said your finger was a gun," that cracks me up every time. His walk into the corn was a scene that I knew a time would come when that scene would hit harder. So yeah, Field of Dreams, as you've heard, my number 1 in my top 5. So I feel you on that one, Kelly, every single bit. Jillian Moreau says, watching Field of Dreams as I type this, such an iconic presence in whatever he did and a voice like no other. Mufasa is James Earl Jones. That role could not have been cast any more perfectly and will always stand out to me as my favorite role he did. Again, 2 more in my top 5. We're on a roll here, guys. Sarah Gear, I loved him in Field of Dreams and The Sandlot. He just brought such a wholesome vibe to both movies. I have a special attachment to Field of Dreams because my grandfather loved that movie. That's a great attachment to have. I love that, Sarah. Again, Field of Dreams and The Sandlot, both in my top 5 as well. And yeah, there's a number of people I know who have connections to Field of Dreams when it comes to family or special moments, sharing special moments with special people about watching that movie together. Same thing can go with The Sandlot too. If you're watching that with kids, your kids, and you're showing that movie to them for the first time, After you watched it as a kid, it really, really does create that special connection. Joe Graziano says Star Wars. Aside, my favorite is Thulsa Doom from Conan the Barbarian and the Coach from Best of the Best. Ooh, Best of the Best was one that wasn't mentioned from either Craig or myself. So that was a good one to throw in there. Joe, thank you for that one. And Star Wars, I mean, come on. You gotta step up like Craig and I did. You gotta choose a favorite. You can't just say the entire blanket Star Wars franchise. There's too many there. That becomes more than just a top 5. That becomes all of your top 5 and then some. So step it up. You got to choose one. We did. We both chose Empire. So fair enough. Randall John Moyer says The Great White Hope. An amazing acting performance well before he was famous for his voice. And Craig agreed with you there, Randy. He'd had The Great White Hope as his too, and that was a movie I have never seen, so it is on my list for movies. That, along with Claudine, are movies that are on my list now to make sure I watch to personally celebrate James Earl Jones's work and watching them as well. And last but not least, from Billy Taylor, I obviously love James Earl Jones in Star Wars, loved him as Mufasa in The Lion King, I loved him in The Sandlot, I loved him as the King of Zamunda in Coming to America. I'm a big Superman guy, so another role that stands out to me is when he played Franklin Stern in Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman. And he saved the Daily Planet. Rest in peace, Mr. Jones. You've left a legacy that will live on for generations to come. I completely forgot that he does show up in Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman. I loved that show when it was on because I myself am a big Superman fan. The show has kind of lost a little bit of its luster to me because of how can I put this gingerly? Certain elements, certain actions of certain actors who are in that show. Not to mention the fact that Tyler Hoechlin is kind of, as I also mentioned I mentioned him in the Tom Hanks episode. Sorry, which is coming. Sorry, recorded before I recorded this, so I confused it for a minute. But Tyler Hoechlin has stepped up as an amazing Superman, and Superman and Lois has kind of overshadowed Lois and Clark. So sorry about that. I'm sure, Billy, you understand. But thank you so much to everybody who submitted feedback. I always love hearing it. If you want to make sure you can leave feedback for future episodes, easiest way to do that is go to the website and you'll find a link there for the Facebook group. It's called Wilhelm Discussion. And I always post in there what episodes are coming up and give you the opportunity to leave that. Or if you are not on Facebook and you just want to leave it directly, you can always email me, Facebook@WilhelmPodcast.com. The next episode, as I mentioned, that you can start leaving feedback is Tom Hanks. It's going to be top 5 favorite Tom Hanks episodes. However, that is not the next episode of Wilhelm you're going to hear. The next episode of Wilhelm that you're going to hear is the audio of my panel with Ross Marquand from Contropolis, New Jersey, earlier this year. I've been a fan of Ross's for a while. If you're not aware of him, he was on The Walking Dead. He is the voice of Professor X in the new X-Men 97 series. He was Red Skull in Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. He's a great impressionist. He's done a ton of other work. I've been a big fan of his for a while, and I've never had the opportunity to moderate a panel with him one-on-one. And I finally got that opportunity. We had an absolute blast. So I have a bunch of panel audio from panels I've done over the past year or so that I'm going to be releasing over the course of this season. And that one is just one of my favorites, so it's coming next. So next week, you're going to hear my panel audio with Ross Marquand, which I'm really excited for you guys to hear. But 2 weeks from now, you will get top 5 favorite Tom Hanks movies with Alex Kruger, who's going to be returning from the episode he did a couple months ago, which was our top 5 favorite baseball movies. So I was really excited to get Alex back on. It's a hell of an episode. You guys are really, really going to enjoy that. And you'll have the opportunity to leave feedback for that as well. Before I wrap things up, again, just a quick reminder that you can find Wilhelm on all major podcast platforms if you're not already subscribed, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're listening to this on the website or you just happen to find this and you're not subscribed to the podcast, please don't forget to subscribe so that you never miss an episode. And tell your friends about the podcast, because word of mouth is the best way to promote anything, including this podcast. If you enjoy it, tell your friends about it, get them to listen as well, and that really helps me out. You can also follow Wilhelm on social media. You can find the podcast on Instagram and Facebook at Wilhelm Podcast, or you can just simply visit the website at welcometowilhelm.com for all the latest updates, ways to leave feedback, ways to follow on social media. All of that, everything is right there on the website, welcometowilhelm.com. Also, the exciting news I've been talking about for a while, Wilhelm will finally be launching a Patreon very soon. It's going to be coming within the next month or two. I'm just finalizing a lot of things. I'm trying not to kind of like... I know a lot of Patreon accounts have like this level and 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 so many levels. I'm trying to simplify it as best as I can because I'm not trying to make money off of the Patreon. The Patreon is simply... podcasting like this costs money. So I'm basically just trying to keep it simple and help, entice you guys to be a part of it and be a part of the show and be a part of the Patreon to help me support the show. The Patreon is simply to offset costs. I'm not looking to become rich from it because, let's be honest, nobody comes rich from Patreon. Everybody I know who has a Patreon puts Patreon money, puts those contributions back into the show, and that's exactly what I plan to do as well. So the Patreon will be launching very soon. If you want to help support the show and get access to some exclusive content, keep an eye out for that. That is the way to do it. Last but not least, if you're attending any conventions that I'm going to be at, please make sure to find me and come say hi. I'm going to be at TerraCon in Marlborough, Massachusetts, end of this month from September 27th through the 29th. And I'm going to be at Rhode Island Comic-Con in Providence, Rhode Island from November 1st through November 3rd. These are two shows that I'm really looking forward to. TerraCon because I'm a huge horror fan, so to have a horror-themed event, really excited for that. Plus, I'm going to be on stage hosting a reunion of the Killer Clowns from Outer Space cast, which I adore that movie, as well as doing a one-on-one with Zach Galligan, who, if you don't know who that is, he played Billy in the Gremlins films, as well as some other roles. So really looking forward to both of those panels at TerraCon. And I have some big things happening at Rhode Island Comic-Con in Providence, November 1st through the 3rd. I will be announcing those things very, very soon. And when I say big, I mean this quite possibly might be the biggest thing I have ever done. So some of you already know what it is. Some of you who are loyal listeners and friends already know what it is. But I will be announcing that very, very soon. Maybe within the next 2 weeks, actually, with the Tom Hanks episode. We'll find out. But yeah, if you're at any events, Matt, whether it's this year, next year, in the future, please stop by, say hi. I love meeting people that way. But I think that is going to wrap it up for this episode of Wilhelm. Thank you once again to Craig Liggeons for coming on and talking about James Earl Jones episodes. Make sure you follow his podcast, Comic Book Gurus, anywhere podcasts can be found. And more details on his variety show that's coming soon. He broke the news with us. When they say us, I mean me and you, great listeners. He broke the news with us on that, which is great. I'm so excited for that. So if you're in the Philadelphia area, oh man, that's going to be exciting next February 28th. But I'll make sure to share more details on that as it gets closer to help support Craig in that too. Thank you again, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you for listening, subscribing, all that you guys do. But until next time, I will see you guys on another episode of Wilhelm. Take care.